Hey there, gang. It's Jason here from the Cracktastic Plastic Podcast, coming at you with another toy journey. Joining me today is a fella who is known for many things. He's pretty good with words, has written some pretty cool books. His voice is always recognizable for its sweet, sultry baritone. His knowledge and expertise of old crappy horror movies is unparalleled. And I think he's pretty cool because I know he collects Transformers. But a lot of us know him as one of the biggest Godzilla and kaiju fans around. Please welcome giant lizard lover Bryan Clark.
Hello, everybody.
Hey,
I
buddy.
thought you were just going to call me a giant lizard there for a minute.
Well, it's tempting every time. What's going on? How you been?
Cold.
Yeah, this
weather is not fun.
No.
But, winter in Iowa, it's not like it's a surprise.
Right, for sure.
It's a good time to, once you get all the snow moved and everything's done and you don't have to go outside for the weekend, you can sit inside and just look at your toys.
Which is what I've been doing. I don't know about you, but... Well, all right.
So chip the icicles out of my beard anyway.
No kidding. So why don't you tell everybody about yourself, where you're from, how old are you, your toys history, what I don't know. What? Just tell who's Bryan?
Oh, I don't know. He's weird.
Yeah.
No, I'm from northern Iowa, Mason City, just a little south of the Minnesota border, so up in the frozen north. I'm 41, and I like toys.
Yeah,
that's a surprise, right? That's
shocker.
Yeah, okay. No, my earliest, probably my earliest memories of toys are like those little. Where they play school, like the little plastic dudes they didn't have legs. It was just a
little
peg,
people.
They'd sit in, the little people, right? Mm-hmm. Where you'd sit in like a boat or a truck and whatever. And I remember like I had a little boat that I'd float around in the sink and stuff like that. But of course, loving dinosaurs, and I had every plastic dinosaur that you could find, at a cheapo bin at a gas station or at a Walmart or whatever. I was an easy kid to buy a gift for. It's like, oh, we need to get Bryan something. What are we going to get him? I'll get him a dinosaur. Even if he already has it, then he'll have two of them and they can fight.
Yeah, that's definitely a boys thing growing up, man. I know I was super into dinosaurs and everything dinosaurs, and I know you clearly are.
And still am. It hasn't gone away. Just the dinosaur toys I get now are much more expensive. Those Creative Beast Studios ones. Did you see that Kickstarter they ran with the sort of their version of Dino Riders with all the armor and everything?
Yeah, dude.
Dino Riders, that was one of my favorites.
I wish
all the armor on mine are broken now, but
that never came our way when we were kids, though. I didn't learn about Dino Riders till later. Oh, really? Sadly, I was so bummed because I look at them now and I'm like, car payment.
Yeah,
these are so amazing.
Even out of box, just finding a complete one, because all the armor was so modular. So it wasn't just here's a thing that slides over and there's two guns on the sides. The guns came off. The barrels of the guns came off. The figures came with like half a dozen accessories the size of your pinky nail. And it's unbelievable. I still have almost all of my Dino Riders stuff. It's just most of the armor is broken because it was very fragile.
Sure.
But I would love to start recollecting those at some point. But
you should, so I can come over and look at them. So yeah, let's go way, way back. Like you said, you remember little people, but those early years, what are some of your memory go that far back? I'm sure it does. You got a giant brain that remembers things.
Earlier than the little people, or you mean
just growing up, some of the earlier toys?
Yeah, so GoBots, Transformers.
Yeah,
I guess Ninja Turtles came a little later. That was like the late '80s, and that was really like I got super focused on those.
Really,
kind of left off Transformers, which now I'm kicking myself for because I recently sold all my Ninja Turtles and buying more Transformers now. Right? But yeah, I remember the orange truck GoBot, the big one, like the semi-cabs. Yeah,
Stacks.
I distinctly remember buying that, like going to KB Toys in the mall with my mom, and when I was little, it was like, is it a buying day or a looking day? Sometimes I get a treat and I'd buy it, if it wasn't but sometimes I
Uh-huh.
could just go look at the toys. And I remember getting that one and my mom always being amazed that I could figure out how to open the things up and transform them without looking at the instructions. Like I'd want to open it right away. Like I didn't even wait till we got home. Like we left the store, sat down on the bench in the mall in front of KB Toys, and I would have to pull it out of the package and transform it a couple of times. And mom sat there very patiently doing that. But of course, now you look back, of course, like a 4 or 5 year old can figure out how to transform them because they're like 3 moves. They're easy. And now there are transformers I can't even bother with because I get frustrated and they're too complicated. But you have all the big fancy masterpieces and those I can't deal with that. But I like a middle ground with those.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of masterpiece, and I mean, there's people that just got rid of all the little stuff and only doing masterpiece, and I get it. And when I see their collections, it's like, oh yeah, one of each character. That's cool. I like it, but I can get like four for the price of one of those, so it's hard not to. Yeah,
I like a fiddle former, but we can
yeah,
get to that later. But you're asking about earlier stuff, so I still have
yeah. What do you still have? Oh, there it.
the six
Wow.
inch Imperial. I have the 13-inch too, but that one I got later. But this 6-inch Imperial Godzilla, I don't remember exactly when I got him, but this was, of course, when I was a kid. There were Bandai toys at that point, and so Marasan, Bullmark. There were companies in Japan making Sofubi, but if you lived in New York City or Los Angeles, maybe you could get those, but you didn't get those in rural Iowa. So this Imperial guy is like the only Godzilla toy most of us Godzilla nerds could get to as kids back in the early 80s. But yeah, that thing fought every other dinosaur I had. I had rubber bats and whatever, and that had to be Gauss from the Gamera series that would come over and fight Godzilla because you just didn't have any other kaiju toys. So I had to pretend that everything else. Well, this looks close enough to Gorosaurus or King Caesar or whatever that can fight Godzilla.
Yeah.
And Godzilla fought a lot of Transformers too.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
Because they scaled well.
Yeah.
And it made sense, even like not just the toys scaled well, but it made sense that like in the fiction they would be about the right size. Some of the bigger ones, and Devastator could go toe to toe with Godzilla.
Yeah, man, that's cool that you still have it. I mean, being able to pack that thing around all these years.
Well, and those things are. I mean, you could probably run that thing over with a car, and it would suffer minimal damage. Those old vinyl toys were tough. There's no articulation really to break, the leg joints and whatever. But they can take a lot of damage. The paint's all beat to shit.
Yeah, Elgin's been collecting those Imperial toys because they scale real well with his Masters.
Oh yeah,
Motu stuff, and he's making all them ride all those dinosaurs and things. But so yeah, they can take a beating for sure. So did you do what a lot of us do and eventually go away from just collecting toys altogether, like college years and stuff? Did you have a break in there?
No, well, college years I probably was starting to get more back into it at that point, actually, because that was, I didn't have, part-time job, I guess, during college, because who can do full-time student and full-time work? That's crazy people talk. But, a little bit of disposable income. And at that point, Godzilla toys were getting more, I feel like that was when kaiju collecting was starting to get easier here in the States. So I actually started buying more toys then, and probably getting a little back into Transformers at that point. I didn't really take a full-on break. I mean, I bought fewer toys through probably mid-high school years, but I'm sure this will come as a shock, but I was never all that concerned about being cool.
Wait, what?
So I didn't really give a shit what people thought about me. It was more just, where am I going to put this? And I don't have any money. I was spending money on going out with my friends, going to movies and stuff like that. So I just didn't. It was more of a prioritizing funds as opposed to I've grown out of toys. Like I never grew out of toys because I never got rid of the ones I had as a kid for the most part.
That's awesome.
And I still, most of my childhood Transformers, again, a lot of them are missing pieces or broken because they got played with all the hell. But
Did you have any like friends that you played toys with once you were older?
no, I
No.
mean, being an only child and growing up out on a farm,
No.
most of my friends lived in town or on other farms miles and miles away. And we'd get together as at birthday parties and stuff, or somebody would come over to another's house on a weekend and we'd play together. But so for the most part, playing with toys was always kind of a solo venture for me. It was all because that was, not having a sibling to play with, not having friends close by that we could just go out and ride bikes every day or whatever. My imagination is what kept me company. So I'd take my toys outside on the farm and have adventures. And that was really cool. That was especially with like dinosaur toys and stuff. I would love taking them out and making little prehistoric landscapes out in the yard and out in the grove and at the edges of the cornfields and stuff like that. So
Dioramas that early. That's awesome.
yeah. And now I no dioramas anymore. But
yeah, for me, it was I just had my little brother, Spooty, just growing up. It was just him and I playing with toys. And then after that, it's like, is there anyone else in the world that collects toys? I had no idea. I thought it was just me until not too long ago. But yeah.
No, so I guess my playing with toys with people is older is, us sharing photos back and forth at night through text, like, oh, look at this Transformer I got, or look at this Godzilla or whatever, and just talking about stuff while I'm, sitting in my rocking chair with a glass of whiskey watching an old movie and just fiddling with a Transformer.
Yeah.
As I was saying before about fiddleformers, that's what, that I prefer something that I can transform back and forth several times to keep my hands busy while I'm sitting and watching a movie or something like that. That's where the fun comes from for me, I guess.
Awesome. Well, let's get to the big question, the one that I don't know if any of us ever have an answer for, but why do you think that you still have toys in a place in your life? What?
Arrested Development. I don't know. They're cool.
I mean, the only
what
child
else am I going to
thing
spend my money on? Sports?
Oh, come on. Yeah, no, I just or like what turns a brain into a collector brain? What makes us psychologically
I think
do this?
I mean, I was only half joking when I said Arrested Development. I think a lot of us yearn for a simpler time, and toys bring us back to that when we didn't have all of the horrors of the world to worry about, especially the hellscape we live in now. Of course, capitalism is a big part of what caused that, and we're contributing to the problem by buying toys. But anyway, whatever. Part of it is filling gaps, I think, from when we were kids. Like, I never had a Soundwave, for example, but I always wanted one. I never saw one in a store, but now I have a Soundwave. So I think some of it is just the ability to fill that desire that for something that you'd never got as a kid that now as an adult you're able to piece together.
Sure.
And they look cool.
They fun. Do.
They're, who doesn't love surrounding themselves with stuff that makes them happy, right? So, for us it's toys, and I've made that joke about sports, but some people, they fill their house with sports memorabilia, and that's what makes them happy. So
some people it's busts of eagles.
Right.
So I have a stepsister, but I get it.
But so, I mean, it's a multifaceted question. I don't think there's any one specific answer. At least in a broader sense, there might be a specific answer for certain individual people, but I think it feeds a lot of different, I don't know, needs, wants, desires.
Sure.
And there's a whole spectrum of reasons, but
sure. Well, so you said that being able to fiddle is what kind of gets you excited about toys, and what kind of bums you out about toys?
Expense.
Oh my gosh.
Collectors markets are bad, and I mean, Transformers have definitely gotten more expensive. I remember when I first really got back into collecting was around the what was the Titan's Return was later. What was the first line around maybe
Binary Wars, or before that,
or what was right before Combiner Wars?
The Energon trilogy or
Okay, so it must have
the
been Combiner Wars then, because so that was about when I first got back into it. Because I remember completing Bruticus, which
mhm.
is another one. Again, I wanted Bruticus as a kid, and I had Onslaught, but I never had any of the
Ah,
others. So putting him together was a real treat. But so I remember even then they were about what, $12 a pop to buy
mhm.
a deluxe class, and now they're 25. And
Yeah.
that so in 10 years they almost doubled in price. And you think Transformers are bad?
Yeah.
Kaiju toys,
Oh,
Sofubi vinyl, especially from Japan, because it's made in small batches,
I
and
can't
this
even
all the
look
import
anymore.
cost. It's gotten obscene. Like there are a couple things that I've got that I got for a crazy good deal, and there are a couple that I'm like, oh God, I kind of wish I hadn't spent the money on that.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
the
so
price.
definitely just the cost and the seeing everyone else in the collector community showing off, like, oh look, I got this thing, and you look at it and you know that piece cost, and I'm not joking about this, $800 or $900
Sure,
easily
sure.
for a single thing this tall
Uh
of,
huh.
and going, God, I wish I could do that. So
I know.
I don't want to say jealousy, but envy a little bit. I guess that's kind of a drag, knowing that
Yeah.
certain things are still out of your reach. But
Oh yeah, there are definitely channels and Instagrams that I follow. I'm just like, to be that loaded.
right,
Gosh dang it, you're just buying all this level stuff, and it's
mm.
like, man, how do you do that?
And space and dusting. Those are the other two things that bum me out.
Yeah,
And that's
no
why you can see
kidding.
behind me this. I have my doors open, so of course my camera's terrible, so you can't really see what's back there anyway. But I try to keep most of my kaiju toys behind glass or still in the box until I can find a space to put them behind glass, because dusting Godzilla sucks. They're
Yeah,
so spiky and there's so much texture, and
yeah.
it's just a drag.
Get one
But
of these. I recommend one of these.
that's a good idea.
Like you really get in there. And anyway, I've been yesterday was a snow day, so I spent all day dusting one of my rooms.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the worst. So at least you have cabinets with doors. That has to help.
Well, I have a cabinet with doors. See, that's we're you know in the process of trying to find a new house, and
Yeah,
one of the requisites is it's got to be bigger, because I mean that isn't that terrible to
it
be
has to be
that
bigger.
addicted to collecting stuff that you literally need to buy a new. I would love to be able to do what Guillermo del Toro did and
Yeah,
literally buy an entire second house just for his stuff.
it's a weird dream to have, but it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely in there. I know. I drive down like the street and I see like a building that's for sale, a
Mm-hmm.
storefront. Even I'm just like, I'm, can I rent this for a museum or something? What can I do? I need space.
See, if you make it a museum, then you can justify your collection. But it's like, oh, well, this is like a business now. I can
That's
sell
right.
tickets.
That's right. I like it. Oh man. Well, one of the things I'm excited to talk to you about is you're one of them fellas that has kids,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just curious. Well, one, how awesome and exciting is it? Do either of the kids do their own collecting, and what's it like now as an adult, as a parent, with the kids collecting toys? What's all that dynamic like for you?
Yeah. Well, when they were, my kids are 19 and 17 now, so they're
Yeah.
essentially adults. But yeah, they both do collect some. My youngest doesn't so much anymore. My oldest has a decent kaiju collection.
Does
So
he?
we go to GFA. Yeah. Um,
She's the older one. Okay.
they're both she.
Oh, yep, yep. I'm done.
Shame on you.
I forgot. It's been a minute.
It's fine. Yeah, I know. You don't see them that often. But anyway, um, where was it? Oh, right. So
Chief.
we'd go to G Fest every year, starting in 2014 when they were younger. So they both have some Godzilla toys from back then, but the youngest is more into clothes and stuff now, as teenage
Sure.
girls tend to be. Um, when they were younger, there I tried to not foist my interests on them too much.
Yeah.
But when kids are really little, they kind of just play with whatever you give them. But so I did try to infuse a few Transformers in, and that was around the time the Michael Bay movies were coming out.
Ah.
And I wasn't really into the designs all that much, but that was mostly what you could find in Target, Walmart, and whatever. So we got a few of those. And that was when I first discovered how complicated they had started to become.
Yeah.
And then so for birthdays and whatever, other people would occasionally get one of the kids a Transformer. And I remember Generation Sideswipe just giving me fits trying to figure out how to transform that goddamn thing. But yeah, when Isabella was younger, she was really into Monster High, and so that was kind of neat because both the kids, grew up around horror stuff, obviously, so they both really like horror. So we were talking the other day about how, when all her friends had mostly Barbies and Bratz, but maybe a Monster High here and there, she was the opposite. She had maybe a Barbie or a Bratz doll here and there, but had like every Monster High thing because she always loved it. And she, for a while, really got into customizing them.
Really, that's awesome.
She would, like, for a few years there, she'd ask, for gifts suggestions, she'd say, just give me a box of parts and I'll make stuff out of them.
Awesome.
And the coolest one was she made a Cenobite a Monster High doll, looked like Pinhead, like took a bunch of little picture hanging nails and stuck it all in the head and drew the grid on and everything. And we took it to a convention and she showed it to Doug Bradley. And he thought it was fantastic. He was like, you have to come back here and take a picture with me with your toy. So yeah, that was really neat.
You must have been so proud.
Yeah. Very much so.
That's awesome. Did your collecting change at all during the early kid years, or?
Other than maybe having to slow down a little bit because diapers are expensive and things like that. Raising a kid is not cheap. So, but it didn't really affect what I was collecting or what I liked or anything like that. It was more just a less disposable income at the time.
Yeah. So when you are out there collecting, do you have like rules? Do you have like routines or traditions when you're looking for toys? Like when you're hunting and stuff, you're just like, I like it or I don't.
I mean, right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, with Transformers, I try to stick with stuff that either is a new representation of a character that I loved as a kid or something that I never had as a kid that I always wanted, that kind of thing. I mostly just collect G1 type stuff. Like, I don't care about Beast Wars or animated or any of that. So, I mean, I'm glad for that because it's just less stuff I have to worry about trying to buy. And, kaiju stuff is so varied. There are super movie accurate looking ones and there are super stylized ones and all sorts of weird colors and everything in between that spectrum. So it really just comes down to what I like as far as that goes. And then just trying to, rein it in. And then not buy the pieces that are $400.
Yeah. And then displaying, you said you keep a lot of your kaiju in the display case. You have rules or collections. How do you do it otherwise?
If you could see a little better, you could tell that I don't. This cabinet is kind of a mess. It's just, this one's cool and I want people to be able to see it. So some of them are just sitting on top of other, which is terrible for the plastic, I know.
But it's just madness everywhere. There's no rhyme or reason.
I mean, it's not terrible. They're all at least standing up.
Okay.
It's not like there's a bunch of them just laying in heaps. You can see everyone's head peeking up behind. But I would like to. I mean, and talking about, finding more, new place with more space. That's the goal, because I have so much stuff in boxes right now. Like maybe half of my collection is actually out in the house right now, and the rest is in boxes. And which I feel bad about that, because like, well, I have all this stuff and I'm not even enjoying it. That's kind of dumb, but I don't want to get rid of it because trying to replace it down the road would be obscene. But so I guess in my head, I have those rules. Like I know how I would like to make some displays. Like I want a whole glow in the dark section with black lights and that kind of stuff. But that's a someday. That is I don't have space
bigger place
right now.
Bigger place.
Yeah. And kaiju are space hogs too. You have the wings and tails and things going everywhere. It's terrible.
Taking up all the real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So, what kind of is there? What toys do you wish they'd made that you haven't seen made yet? Do you have any wish lists there?
There's one that I have wanted since I was a kid
Oh,
that will probably never ever happen, and
oh,
that is a Perfection Nevada Tremors playset. And I think I've brought this up in
yeah.
shout outs on the show before, where I would a big diorama type thing with several of the storefronts and a lever that you can make a graboid pop up through the ground, and jaw action that can grab a
Man.
Bert or a Val and Earl figure or whatever. And that's something that I think would be fantastic. And there are some Tremors toys out there. There's a very weird Safubi one that has legs.
Oh,
And there are, you know what Gashapon are?
nope.
Capsule toys that you get in vending machines in
Oh.
Japan. Kind of like here, you get them and there's tiny little capsules that have like a little rubber bug in them or something. But in Japan, the capsules are about the size of a baseball. And they come with anything from just a solid one-piece statue to little figures that you can snap together. Some of them are articulated. And there was a whole line of Tremors ones just a couple of years ago that I picked up on eBay. Because people will make, like, their entire livelihood is just being in Japan, buying all of the crap out of these Gashapon machines and then selling them for a 300% markup on eBay.
Yeah.
But since they're like $2 to start with out of the machine, you can still get a full set of these things for a pretty reasonable price.
Man, I wonder if
cheaper than a plane ticket to Japan anyway.
Yes. I wonder if anyone's ever customized like a Mask Boulder Hill playset. Like it's got a similar
that would totally work. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Gas station,
Somebody who's actually good at that should get on it because
they should
I'm
do
not
it.
A handy person.
We want to see it and or buy one.
Mm.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Tremors. There aren't a lot of Tremors toys, really, though. You're right. In general, for being, Bert needs his own action figure, man.
Right? Yeah, you could put every toy gun imaginable in that, and it would all make sense.
Right. His accessory pack it's a whole
another box. Yeah.
Oh man. So in your collection, it seems like you're more of a loose or versus on card or in box. Do you open everything?
Kaiju stuff typically, if it comes in a package, it all just comes in a bag with a little cardboard header thing stapled to it. And I keep a lot of those because if you want to resell them, you get a little more if you have the cardboard tag. But I don't care about the cardboard. So I'm happy just buying them loose because I want them sitting out on my shelf. So there isn't really much packaging to worry about with that. Some of them are more like an articulated figure. Like I have one here that I'll show off. This is Super Robot Red Baron.
Hey,
he's
buddy.
Die cast with a little bit of plastic, and he's got magnetic joints.
Whoa.
So they don't break. They're not a little plastic hinge here. It's all magnetic. And he's got all kinds of different little bits and pieces. He has 6 different hands that he comes with. So he comes in a box like a NECA figure.
Do those magnet joints just pop off then? You can move them around?
Or
how does that?
They're semi-attached. Okay. It's just that the way they swivel is...
That's cool as hell.
Yeah. This was a grail of mine for a long time. And again, on one of the very early episodes of the podcast, with the question for the listeners was, what is one of your grails? And it was this guy. I finally got one.
Oh, how good does that feel?
Yeah, pretty good.
Oh, man.
It's a cool toy from one of my absolute favorite TV shows from Japan that isn't an Ultraman thing. But yeah, and with Transformers, again, now they all come in boxes. They used to come on cards. If it comes on a card, I'm going to open it up and recycle the card because why buy a Transformer if you're not going to play with it? That's the whole point, right? And I don't really collect non-transforming ones either. For the people who love them, that's awesome. I don't shit on it at all. It's just not something I'm interested in because if I have a Transformer, I want it to transform.
Sure. I think when it gets to your favorite character,
if you have a bunch of them and multiples, you got to keep one in the package. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some stuff I keep in the.
Yeah. Or it's okay if it's non-transforming. It represents your dude or whatever. So.
Or I have some Super 7 little reaction things, some glow-in-the-dark ones and things like that. Those you keep on the card because the card's part of toy, like
Yeah.
the artwork is so beautiful that that's kind of part of the piece. It's more of an art piece than a toy, really.
Yep. Yep.
I think. Um, but yeah. So, and with the newer Transformers that come in boxes, I keep most of the boxes. I'm going to have to start at least collapsing them because I'm starting to run out of room with the stacks of these stupid things because they're so big. But
Yeah.
it's a nice way to be able to store them if it's something you're not going to display to help prevent them from being broken or losing the weapons or anything like that.
Yep. For sure. For sure. Man, some people just throw it in the trash. I don't know how. I just, oh, so tough. Do you have you done any customizing yourself?
No, because I'm not talented in that way.
Oh,
I
that's
tried to build
can't be
one of.
true.
I'm not a handy person at all.
Huh.
I tried to build a long time ago one of those Aurora model kits that Godzilla.
Uh-huh.
You know, they made Godzilla ones and classic monsters, Dracula, Frankenstein, all that, and they're just little plastic snap together things. They're not even that hard to do, but I can't paint well, and it just I don't have the space to work on them. Like you
Yeah.
really need a big place to lay out lots of
Yeah.
art supplies and things, and I don't have room for that. I could probably in my garage, but it's cold as hell
Yeah.
here right
Yeah.
now, so that wouldn't be any good anyway. But no, it's one of those things that I would love to do. I wish I could build model kits. I wish I knew how to customize toys, but it's just don't have the time
Not yet.
or the talent.
Uh, well, you showed off your cool ass red dude there. What other grails you got on your list?
Well, I mean, upcoming grails or
Yeah,
things that were grails that I have.
either. I like
Okay,
to.
well, uh, I would love to get. There's a company called Nauts Nauts that made a vinyl Godzilla based on the artwork from the storyboards for the original movie, where he has much more of a dragon-like look, but
Oh,
with kind of a weird fish tail. Um, and they were very, very limited. They were sold at, I think, one toy show in Japan several years ago. And if you didn't get one there, they literally cost $1,500 on the aftermarket now. So
ouch!
that's a grail that will probably not be coming my way unless I run into a fellow collector who cuts me a really good deal. But
Yeah,
man, there's always stuff coming out. That's the problem. Is every time you think, okay, well, these are my grails, then 6 months later, there's a new toy show that has
some you don't even know
new
is a grail until
announcements.
you see it, and you see that
Yeah,
price tag. You're like, well, that goes on the grail list
yeah.
now.
There's a company called X Plus that makes very screen accurate, super realistic vinyl statues. I've got a couple of those behind me, but they're huge and they're behind other things, so I'm not going to pull them down because it'll knock everything over and be a catastrophe. Um, but one of their earliest figures was a Meganulon, which is this sort of bug creature from the 1956 Rodan movie.
Okay.
And they made two of them. There's two different colorways, same sculpt, different paint. But there's a particular one of those that I really, really love, and that is right up about the top of my list, probably for grails. And the killer is, I had one in my hands at G Fest
Oh God.
last year or 2 years ago. I forget. I think it was 2 years ago, and it was $500.
Okay.
So that is a little beyond the limit of like I shouldn't spend. But then I kept humming and hawing over. It's like you never see these things for sale anymore because they're like 20 years old at
Could
this
be
point.
your
There
only
weren't that
chance.
many of them,
Yeah.
and the seller was even willing to because the guy helping run the booth is a guy I know from the kaiju collector community. So he's like, we'll knock a little bit off, we'll give you a $50 deal or whatever,
Yeah.
$50 discount. I'm like, let me make a lap and think about it. I'll come back. And he's like, okay, but don't think too long because this is, and I came back and it was gone. I was going to pull the trigger and I came back and it was gone. So, yeah. So I still look on eBay and Mandarake, which is a toy resellers, used toy store in Japan, and Bai, other Yahoo Japan auctions, third party sellers or
Can't find her
proxy
that
bidders.
low. Yeah.
Well, I can't find them at all. They don't even
Oh,
show up any. That's the problem. Is just nobody has the damn things because they're pretty rare. So, yeah,
the time to buy is when you see it.
I know.
That's. It's a hard. Oh, it's tough. Oh, it's so sad. Oh, so
But
sad.
I do have a couple more I will show off that I do have.
Oh,
This
goody.
one is one that they were rare on the ground when they came out. This is a Giga Brain
What?
King Ghidorah. He's pretty big, as you can see. Talking about space hogs, see how wide the wings are
Yeah.
and the tail sticking out the end.
Oh, that
But this,
beautiful.
it's one of the best Ghidorah Safubi sculpts that's ever been done. And this was done for
Colors.
Wonder Festival in 2021, I think. Yeah, and you can't really tell because again, bad camera, but the paint is kind of iridescent, shimmery. If you get it in a good
Yeah.
light, it's really pretty. And it's based on the promo photos when Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster came out. Um, it looked like originally the suit was going to be blue with these rainbow-colored wings, but it was always gold. They just made the poster look like that. But
Wow.
there have been many different colorways of that. There's several glow-in-the-dark ones that I would love to get that I like even better than that colorway, but I'm just glad to have a representation of that sculpt. This is one of my
Heck
favorite
yeah.
monsters, and it's one of the best toys of it that's ever been made.
And it's right there
And
where you can always see it. Hell
yeah,
yeah.
and then I will take this one thing off the shelf behind me. This is another. This was a vinyl kit that came in pieces by a company called Passion Tank, and this is Shin Godzilla, and it was originally a glow in the dark black. I can't get right which direction things need to go.
Yep.
It was originally just a blank glow in the dark, so it was all just green. And there's a guy in the vinyl community named Jake Wisnowski, goes by Violet Vigilante, that he puts his little sticker logo on there, and he does custom painting. And so I got in touch with him and said, "Hey, I've got this Passion Tank Shin Godzilla. I want to, go crazy," because he just does the most amazing colors of this stuff. You can look him up on Instagram under Violet Vigilante, and he just does all kinds of amazing paintwork. And even he said this is one of the best things he's ever done. Like, so
Oh.
this is a one of one. There's no other one like
Oh.
it in the world. It's got, and again, on camera, it just kind of looks black, but it's got all these different layers of color through here. So
Yeah.
there's some black, there's blue, there's green, and it's how you do that with an airbrush, I don't even know. And then, of course, the fins are this orange and pink and purple and yellow, and even with this dark paint on here, it still glows brighter than
Wow.
just about any other glow figure I've got. So that's probably the crown jewel of my collection. That is easily the coolest
Beautiful.
Godzilla figure I have.
Oh, man. That's cool. Oh, awesome. Is that, well, so is it what's the most expensive toy you got?
Probably this one because of the
Yeah.
custom paint job. I
You
mean,
paid twice for it.
basically, yeah. Passion Tank stuff, because again, they make them in real small batches and typically only release them at Super Festival and Wonder Festival, which are summer and winter toy shows in Japan. Um, and so if you get them from the show or you look on Bai, the proxy bidder, and there are many different proxy bid services. I just use Bai because they're easy. If you look on there right around the time these festivals are going on, people will go buy this stuff at the conventions and sell them for a small markup. But then if you wait like a month, they're
Twice.
$500 again, easily. So I got this thing for a little under 200 just for the kit, and then the paint job was another 200 on top of it. But I mean, it's even with this crap image from this camera, you can see how pretty it is. And you see it in person, and you're like, God, I mean, it literally is a work of art. It's not just a toy. It's amazing. So it was totally worth it. But that's probably the most expensive thing I've got too.
So awesome. So you've talked about goals for your displaying and stuff. What kind of goals do you have going forward for your collecting? Do you want to complete some lines? Do you want to try some new things? What's the plans?
Not
fly by the seat of your
yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I really don't have much planned in that regard. I don't, completing lines has never really been something I'm that big on, I guess. I mean,
sure.
I have most of the Studio Series 86 Transformers movie
Still
line.
looking for that snarl.
Still looking for the snarl, yeah. But there's a couple of them I skipped. Like I didn't get Perceptor because I already had the one from Titan. Was that Titan's Return? Whatever the line was right before that, and it's so close. It's like it's good enough. This is fine. And then I have the new the retro movie one, which I like much better than the articulated one anyway. So I'm happy with that. Yeah. And Blur, like I've never cared about Blur. I don't have any Blur toys. So even there, it's like I don't have that kind of. I hate to say OCD because I know some people that actually have it, and it's like crippling and terrifying. So I feel like it's kind of demeaning to use it as a offhanded thing. But I've never had that itch that like, oh well, if I got a couple of these, I have to get all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it's just kind of if I see something and I like it and I can afford it, then I'll buy it.
All right. Well, before we go, I guess what kind of, a lot of people watch this from seasoned veteran collectors to first timers. Who knows who's watching? What kind of advice would you give the toy collector?
Buy what you love, buy what makes you happy. Don't get bogged down in what other people think about toys or about your collection or what the tastemakers say you should have. Just do what you love, and don't go into debt. Don't buy this shit on a credit card, people. That's for cars and houses. Buy what you can buy within your means. Buy what you can afford. All right. But yeah, mostly just do what makes you happy, and don't worry about what anyone else thinks. If people think you're weird for buying toys, then you don't need those people in your life.
That's right. Yeah, it's all about being happy for sure. All right. Well, any plugs? Tell us your books. Where can people find you? Tell us all.
I'm pretty much just on Facebook because I don't computer. You can find my books, Putting the Ground to Sleep and Other Weird Tales, which is a collection of original short stories, and The Beast from Haunted Cave, which is a novelization of the classic Roger and Gene Corman horror film from 1959. Those are both on Amazon. You can find my writing popping up in Scream magazine every now and again. Yeah. And hopefully I'll have a new book ready by the end of the year. We'll see.
Ooh, exciting.
Oh, and voiceover work. You mentioned my voice earlier.
Yep.
I always think that's flattering but weird, but thank you.
Yes.
But there's a new band called Adversion. They have an EP out called Dejection of the Malign Tabernacle. You can find them on Bandcamp if you look up Sewer Rot Records. And I do voiceover narration on all the songs on that EP. And we'll be working on their upcoming full length too. So if you like symphonic, epic space opera, horror, death metal.
They do.
If they don't, they should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, anything else you want to add before we go?
Watch Godzilla movies.
That's right. Do what he says. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Thank you, Bryan, so much for doing this. Appreciate it. I just love talking toys with you.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. So I'm going to actually make some content out of our late night conversations about Transformers.
Love it. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.